We are still 10 weeks away from this referendum, but that hasn't stopped it dominating the news agenda for both the newspapers and broadcasters. And talk about it in the media has been particularly rife in the past 24 hours. Well, I'm pleased to say joining me in the studio now is our political correspondent, Jarrad Johnson, to shed some light on why that's been the case. Jarrad, what's the latest?
Well, Michael, yesterday we had a big announcement from the Electoral Commission on which groups will be officially designated to lead the campaigns to stay and leave the European Union. The Commission decided to designate the group Britain Stronger in Europe, which is led by the Prime Minister and backed by the government, as the official stay campaign, while Vote Leave were given the green light to be the official group for Leave. That's of course backed by some Tory bigwigs such as Michael Gove and Boris Johnson. In reality, this doesn't mean anything to normal voters, but it does to the politicians. The decision has dealt a huge blow to UKIP leader Nigel Farage, who is now left without an official role in the Leave campaign. He's part of the Leave.eu campaign, which was unsuccessful. Although Leave.eu, which paired up with Grassroots Out, and contains people like Mr Farage and George Galloway as well, are thinking about contesting this decision in court, labelling it as a political stitch-up.
And something else you won't be happy about is a government leaflet that's starting to arrive on people's doorsteps.
Yeah, so this is the now infamous leaflet that has caused so much controversy in Westminster and among the public as well. The government have spent £9.3 million on this booklet, which outlines the reasons they're campaigning to stay in the EU. This has obviously upset many out-campaigners who say public money should not be spent on what is essentially propaganda, because the out-campaign doesn't have anywhere near the same resources. Some have even labelled the move as Mugabe-esque tactics, so very strong words there. Of course, the government have defended it by saying it's right that they should be allowed to put their case to the people that have elected them. But anyway, that story has advanced as well, because there's been an online petition with now more than 200,000 signatures in protest at this leaflet, and now MPs will debate the matter in Parliament on May the 9th. People are getting these leaflets through their doors now and have been encouraged by Leave campaigners to send them back to Downing Street. It will be really interesting to see what you, the listeners, think actually. So do let us know by tweeting at Siren FM. Let us know if you've had one of these leaflets through your door and if you'll be sending it back to Downing Street or not. Should the government be spending almost £10 million on these leaflets? We'd love to hear from you.
And the leader of the opposition, Jeremy Corbyn, is set to make a speech later today as well, I believe.
Yeah, that's right. Well, it's a highly anticipated speech for a number of reasons, but it all boils down to the fact that while there's so much debate going on around the EU referendum, the Labour Party and their leader, Jeremy Corbyn, have been nowhere to be seen. There was an interesting opinion poll taken the other day, actually, which showed just 47% of people knew what position Jeremy Corbyn was taking in this referendum, whereas 78% knew the Prime Minister David Cameron was supporting the Stay campaign. But as you say, that's about to change. We're expecting Mr Corbyn to set out the reasons he believes the UK will be stronger staying in the European Union. And a key message in that is because of the social rights which come with being a member of the European Union. And the reason this is such an important speech for the In campaign is because they need people to turn up and vote on the day of the referendum. Left-leaning people need to be inspired by the case to stay in the EU, and for obvious reasons, the Conservative Prime Minister David Cameron isn't going to be able to do that. So the responsibility falls to the Labour Party and to their leader Jeremy Corbyn to try and do that.
But why have Labour been playing it quiet until now?
Well, there's a number of reasons for that. Firstly, Jeremy Corbyn has been a Eurosceptic for his entire political career. He voted to leave what was then the EEC in the last referendum we had in 1975, and he's described the European Union before as, and I quote, a European bureaucracy unaccountable to nobody where powers have gone from national parliaments. So he's in a tricky position because the vast majority of his party want to stay. Critics have said his heart isn't in it. I think he genuinely wants to stay. However, I think he sees the need for serious reform of the European Union, but from the inside. The other reason for Labour's absence from any meaningful input into the debate so far is political as well. The fact is that before the referendum on June the 23rd, we have national elections in Wales and Scotland, and local elections too on May the 5th. In last year's general election, Labour were badly hampered by UKIP, so they don't want to make a big song and dance about their pro-EU stance in England, while if they support the same campaign as David Cameron, it could affect their chances in Scotland and Wales. So don't expect too much more from Labour in between now and May the 5th. We expect their real referendum campaigning to begin the day after, on May the 6th.
Thanks for that, Jarrad.